Eventually, we're going to have to get a couple of recliners. Yeah,
Eventually, we're going to have to get rid of this and put like a nice comfy couches, a little table in the middle. Some lazy boys.
Yeah. I was telling them that we got to get Marcos on here, too.
Marcos, who, the lender?
Marcos Moreno.
We will. We have a huge list of guests. That's the best part, that we have a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie, that gets sick half the times. Not sure why. Right, Jackie?
Jackie is COVID with legs.
I'm a what?
You're COVID with legs.
COVID with legs?
Yeah, you're walking pneumonia.
How's your day so far?
Well, I got a haircut.
Yeah?
I'm starting.
Looking fresh.
Yeah, I'm. Shout out to Kiko. I told him I'd do it. So.
You did?
Yes, I told him I'd do it.
All right.
I told him I'd do it. So, episode 3.
This is episode 4.
Wow.
Yeah. This is going to be free marketing for cold brew from Starbucks. And we are live. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Goodbyes podcast. Today we have one of our guests, one of our team members, Justin Gagola. What's up, Justin?
Thank you for having me, man. I'm happy to be here.
Hey, let me have a sip of this cold brew first before we get moving.
Get your nitro in.
I'm getting thirsty already. So, thank you for being part of this show. Thank you for coming. As always, we like to interview our guests, interview our team members, and just getting to know people like yourself. Like who's Justin? What makes you? Why are you different than anybody else? And just getting to know your story, right? This is what it's all about. And let's get right to it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So, Justin, where are you from? Where are you coming from? Like, where do you live? Tell us a little bit more about you.
So I was born and raised in Buffalo, New York. So it's a tight little inner city area, and had all my lifelong friends lived within 4 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So I eventually left Buffalo and moved to Arizona with my family. They decided to take this huge step and move across the country.
Okay, so let's just pause it right there. Moving from Buffalo, New York to Phoenix, Arizona. I mean, how old were you?
I think I was 19.
Oh, you were a little bit older.
Yeah, I was a little bit older. It was quite a change. I mean, you talk about climate. Obviously, Buffalo, we have the Bills and we have snow. Mm-hmm. That's what we have, And then we come to Arizona, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing mountains and
saguaros.
Oh, what?
Saguaros,
yeah, coyotes. Yeah, it was definitely a culture shock. So
now, whose decision was to make this kind of huge move?
So ultimately, it was my parents. My parents decided that they were gonna, take this leap of faith, and they gave me the choice. They were like, "Hey, do you want to come with us?" And I was like, "I got to get out of here. I got to make some changes." And I'm glad I did. Yeah. I met a lot of good people here, and I definitely I grew through these processes. Taking these leaps of faith, and every time I made the jump, I felt like I learned and I grew a lot.
You have improved. Every move that you've done, you've been improving. Mm-hmm. Now, just growing up in Buffalo, I mean, I just cannot imagine like how was it over there from how it is here, like even to adjust, mm-hmm. how first of all, how was growing up in Buffalo?
Growing up in Buffalo was actually pretty good. Like I said, so I grew up in a very tight-knit circle. All my friends lived within a few blocks. I actually went to private Catholic school my whole life, and all my friends attended the same schools as me. So it was very, very tight-knit. It's very hard, very blue-collar city. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a blue-collar kind of job. Everybody's working for the city. Everybody works with their hands, and I don't know. It's very tight-knit. Yeah. Very, very, very tight-knit.
So leaving Buffalo at 19 years old, I mean, I'm sure you were like, at the same time you wanted to make a move, mm-hmm. but, leaving all your friends behind. I mean, how was that? Was that pretty painful, or you were like pretty like, yeah, it's all right. Hopefully we get to, we'll talk and stay connected.
You definitely figure out who your real friends are, because those people stayed in touch with me throughout the whole process of moving there. And some people actually drifted away, and I'm like, dude, I've known you since pre-K.
Yeah.
And we don't talk anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we all grow at our own speeds, and we all have different paths.
Yeah. And that's going to happen, over time, you start just living your own life, and relationships are going to start like either fading away or just going a whole different route. And that's just part of life. So moving back to Phoenix, or moving to Phoenix at 19 years old, like what you do? Like, as soon as you moved, did you find a job? Did you go to college? What was your first move coming to a brand new state, brand new city?
So I ended up taking a job. So we moved to Surprise, Arizona. So if anybody, is familiar with the state, obviously it's up in the Northwest and it's a little bit tucked away. And I remember the 303 being like one lane in, one lane out. And I just remember going to Westgate. I actually...
So Westgate already existed when you were 19.
But it was definitely not what it was.
What it is now.
Yeah. The Coyotes still actually played over there. So, I took a job as a waiter over in Surprise. I was working there, and I remember being a terrible waiter. I was terrible. I loved helping people. I loved talking to people, but I was a terrible waiter. I remember at one point I actually, it's one of my horror stories as a waiter. This young couple came in. They had their two little kids, and I remember serving them. They ordered some drinks. I went to go get the drinks. I walked over to the table and I spilled 4 large sodas all over their kids. And I just remember, man, this isn't for me.
Were they pretty upset or?
Luckily, the parents just started laughing.
Oh my God.
The kids are screaming. They had to have been like 3 or 4 years old, but they turned into like human root beer floats.
Oh
like,
my God,
crazy.
that's funny.
Yes.
You know what? Growing up, I work as a waiter too at a retirement home, and those fancy retirement homes where they call it independent living, right? They still do their own thing, but they have their nice dining room. And I used to wait those tables. And one time, same thing. I was carrying this small tray full of drinks. So when I leaned over to pass one of the drinks, literally everything just went down. And the lady that was sitting right in front of me, which I think I still remember her name. No, I don't. It's been many years.
Yes.
But I spilled all the drinks on top of her. Luckily, she was pretty like, okay, it's okay, honey. Don't worry about it. Let me go change kind of thing. But man, at the moment, you're just like sweating and feel so embarrassed about,
Yeah, your heart definitely sinks into your stomach, and you're like, oh my God, like how am I going to recover from this?
Yeah.
And it's funny to think of your perspective as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid, and now as a grown man,
So growing up, obviously you had the job as a waiter. Then what was next for you?
I actually took a job, and I was working with disabled kids, actually. And so I did that for a couple years, and man, the money was so tight. It was such a rewarding kind of job too.
Yeah.
I was helping disabled kids like work on little goals and stuff like that. And what I ended up doing too, right after that, I ended up going to school for become a teacher. I did 1 semester of that, and I was just like, I can't do this school thing anymore, man. I got to get out of here. And I ended up joining the Arizona Department of Corrections.
Okay.
So that was my first step into law enforcement.
Okay. When was this?
Oh my God.
Because I remember when I met you towards the beginning, you kept telling me like, hey, I want to be a cop. I want to be a cop. I want to get into the police academy, right? So that's, being a correction officer or getting into the correction officer, like what year was this? Like, or how old were you?
I think I was 22,
24? Okay.
23. So I ended up joining the DOC, and they dictated where you were going to work. So I ended up, at this point, I had a roommate, and we had a place up in Surprise, and he worked for Lewis Prison, which is the men's prison. It was, it's really hardcore. They had riots there. They had all this crazy stuff. They had gun towers and stuff like that over there. And after I finished everything, they were like, "Hey, you're going to go to Perryville." And I'm like, "What's Perryville?" They're like, "Yeah, It's the women's prison right over here. And I'm like, all right, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
sure. So I did that for 3 years, and it was definitely interesting.
An experience.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, working 3 years at as a correction officer at the women's jail. I mean, I'm sure you go through a lot. I mean, just I'm just thinking out loud, right? Like emotions. I mean, not saying that girls are emotional. I'm just saying that there's a lot more emotions going on than working at a guy's jail, right? I suppose. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. So the women's prison was a lot more mentally exhausting for me. And no is never no. Like, so they would ask me for something, and I'd say, no, we can't do that right now. And then we're talking about emotions, and oh, come on, please. And it was very exhausting like that. I almost felt like a parent, like a camp counselor. And so after I did that for 3 years, I'm like, man, I got to make a change. I got to get out of here. The money's not good enough. I don't know how I'm going to live. I feel like I'm drowning.
Right.
Unfortunately and fortunately, that was the kind of time when I met my now wife. And so I made a big step, and I ended up, we ended up splitting up, and I ended up moving to Massachusetts and getting on with the sheriff's department out there.
Yeah. So you lived here, went to Massachusetts for a better paid job, right?
Yes.
And still doing the same thing, right? Correction officer.
Yes.
Was this for a girls correction officer or guys?
No, so it was with the males.
Males.
Yes. So it was definitely even that jump was definitely a shock. Working with 1,000 female inmates, and then all of a sudden you walk into a place and guys got tattoos on their faces, and they're just kind of like gangster and all this new stuff to me. I don't know any of the gangs and anything in Massachusetts, and I had to learn all about that kind of stuff.
So you did that for how long?
So I was just under 10 years. So
okay.
Yeah. So I was working with the boys.
All right. So for those that don't know Justin and his wife, so she's my sister-in-law. I met Shelly when she was 10, 11 years old. She was super young. I just remember her being very, very young. And the reason that they met, I guess, Shelly was on her early 20s, went to a bar, and it was Shelly was always hanging out with us, right? It was my wife, Shelly, her sister, and myself. And then I think that's the night that she met you when we were hanging out Sandbar, which is now, what's it called?
Is it the Lodge?
No, it's not the Lodge. Can't remember the name. The Cabin.
The Cabin.
At the Cabin over here in Glendale. And from that point, that's when you guys started seeing each other, right? All right.
Yeah, so it was really interesting meeting her, and I remember being there. I still remember it. I remember seeing her from across the bar, and I was there with a couple of my friends, and I had a little friend that would just ramble and talk all this game, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna hit on that girl, and she's gonna like me, and everything like that, and he's like, I see her too, and I'm like, yeah, but you're not gonna do anything about it, and I kind of called him out on it. Even though I was like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm terrified,
Yeah.
And he goes, watch this. And then he kind of just strutted over there.
Yeah.
And then just kept strutting. And so thank God for him, because what ended up happening is I had to go approach her now because I had to outman him. Kind of let me show you how it's done, guy.
Yeah.
So I remember walking over there and approaching her and asking her, like, hey, can I buy you a drink kind of thing?
Yeah.
And it's so funny to think about this new age generation, and they don't know about that. You got to walk up to a bar and actually approach somebody and talk to them face to face, like it's
being formal.
Yeah. It's not as easy as it looks, so for that newer generation out there.
Right. Okay. So, Massachusetts, you move, you get split, and then, I know at some point she ended up moving as well.
Yeah, so it took me about 2.5 years to convince her to move out to Massachusetts, and I begged her. And then that's when I knew it was really like this is serious.
Serious, yeah.
Because I needed her, I wanted her, and I convinced her, Thank God. So I think that was the beginning of my sales career right there.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
just selling
Convincing.
chili on getting out there.
So for those that are correction officers and thinking about getting into real estate, don't be afraid. You
Yes.
got this.
Yes, you could definitely do it.
So I know you get Shelly moved and then I just kept thinking, I told Karina, I'm like, hey, just wait, they're gonna move back. So we came and visit you guys a couple of times during the time that you guys lived in Massachusetts, and you just kept telling me like, hey man, like I have such a good job, I'm gonna retire here, I'm gonna be here for another 10, 15 years before I get my pension. What was going through your mind at that point?
Well, stability.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I never had stability financially in my life. And then when I moved to Massachusetts, I was able to establish myself, pay off my debts and be able to sustain a good life. It wasn't, I don't want to say it was fantastic, but I was making enough money to be comfortable.
Right.
And that's something that now I look back on and I'm like, why did I wait so long? You know what I mean? But to grow, you have to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Being stuck in that environment, and I still talk to those guys today, and they'll talk to me about how toxic it is. You know what I mean? And it sucks you in, and then you'll never leave, kind of thing. And,
Right.
and that was kind of the feedback that I was getting from even my coworkers. Like, you sure you want to do that, dude? It's kind of like, why would you do that? You're leaving such a good job. Like, why would you do that? But I ended up being the best decision of my life.
Yeah, I mean, so I remember when we had this discussions, I'm like, Justin, do you seriously gonna wait 10, 15 years of your life? Like that's one of the things that we have, the most precious things that we have, it's our life besides energy, right? We have to have the right energy, the good vibes to be able to have a good life, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter how much time you have in your life. If you're not enjoying it, then it doesn't really matter. So you really have to push for enjoyment. But when you made the decision to get into real estate, and still working in Massachusetts, still living up there, and then you're like, hey, I'm gonna sell my house, I'm gonna move back to Phoenix. Do you think I can do this? And one of the things that I like to do, I really like to empower people. Like, man, like you can do this, right? Because somebody has to believe in you. Like I believe in you. Like I can literally see you doing it, right? But a lot of times you just need the extra push to say, you know what? Yes, I can do it. And when you were moving, like sometimes it amazes me when I tell people certain things, because I always just go with my gut feeling, like, hey, like go for it. And then they end up doing it, like, snap, what did I just say?
Yeah, you were the reason. If I would have failed, I would have been coming right after you.
Yeah, because at some point I feel responsible, right? Like, man, if you fail, like, how can I help, right? Because I feel like, somewhat responsible for the decisions that you made. But luckily, it has worked out, right? Like you moved, you sold your house in Massachusetts, moved back to Phoenix. When was this? But what,
2021, what was it? September, I think.
2021? So you've been in real estate for 3 years, close to 3 years now?
I'm at 3 years, yeah.
3 years. Okay. So working as a correctional officer for how many years?
10 years with the guys, and then 3 years with the women.
13 years of being a correctional officer to completely switching your everything.
Yes, that was my first sales job.
To real estate. How was that transition? Like even just not having a 9 to 5 job or whatever your schedule was, and waking up and like, all right, I don't have to go to my job and clock in, right? Like how was it?
So making that big leap of that, hey, I'm getting paid biweekly, I just got to show up, collect the paycheck, and go home. That whole mentality kind of went out the window. Now I got, my wife is looking at me like, hey, are you going to make something of yourself, But I always carry a lot of pressure on myself, and I'm my own worst critic. And
you still do.
I know. I tell people, I'm like, my anxiety is my fuel. That's what pushes me daily. And I always want to do better for myself and my family. But coming into this, I didn't see failure as an option. And thank God I had you kind of, mentor me and really guide me through this transition. Because, I took everything that you said and I just ran with it. I said to myself, I wasn't going to fail without doing everything that I was supposed to do. So if I did everything that you said and then I failed and fell on my face and I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't the career.
Right.
But I'm like, I'm going to take every piece of advice that you're going to give me and I'm going to run with it and see where it takes me.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful I did. You know, this is real estate has changed my life for the better.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And then you moved back to Phoenix, purchased your house, and you just purchased your second house.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Very, very stressful time in my life right now. Chelly, my wife, she's pregnant with her second son.
Let's rewind. How your first baby a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Liam is 2. Shelly's pregnant again, expecting your second baby.
Second baby.
Renting your current home, moving to a new home, dude. That's a lot of moves that you've been doing in the past 3 years that you've been in real estate.
Yes, it's definitely. I talked to Marcos about it, and he's like, dude, you got to really stop and smell the roses a little bit, because he sees how hard I am on myself and how much I want to push myself. And he's like, give yourself a pat on the back, dude. Like, you just in 3 years, you just purchased a second home. Like, that's quite an accomplishment.
And moving from a whole different state. Like a lot of people, I don't see myself moving ever.
Yeah.
So for those that have done it, we get clients from different places from the entire country, right? California, Texas, you name it. Just making that huge move, it's just crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I've done it, a couple times in my life. I went from Buffalo to Arizona to Massachusetts, and then back to Arizona. It's quite intimidating, exciting, but scary, so you have to be very calculated, and you have to really, really push yourself and really give everything, because failure is not going to be an option.
And I think that's the best part, failure is not an option, not having a plan B. That's that's the biggest mistake people do when they're trying to grow, right? Not having a plan B, putting yourself against the wall, like nothing's gonna stop you, right? And that's the biggest difference from those that I've seen them grow and be able to achieve some kind of success, right? I'm sure there's room for improvement for all of us. But just putting yourself against the wall and just going for it and saying, hey, there's no plan B, like this is it. And I think that's one of the things that, even though you think, you put a lot of pressure on yourself, but that pressure that you put on yourself, that's the one little thing that a lot of people don't have to be able to achieve the things that you have achieved.
Yes. And a lot of it is just hunger. You know what I mean? I'm always pushing to do better. And I always want to do better, and I'm always trying to do better. And sometimes we slip, you know what I mean? But getting back into that groove and making sure that we're doing the right things every single day to keep growing.
Yeah.
But yeah, stay hungry.
And 2023 was an amazing year, right? Even though it was a slow year for a lot of agents here in Phoenix, Arizona. What are you thinking about 2024?
I mean, we went through COVID crazy interest rates and prices going through the roof, and had competitive offers on that end, where we had to go 20,000 over asking. We went through this part where interest rates are too high and then buyers are backing out. We were able to get through those. So whatever 2024 has in store for us, we're going to be able to dominate that too.
You know what? I think it comes down to servicing the clientele, right? It really comes down to service, because there's always a want, there's always a need. Like need to buy, need to sell, want to buy, want to sell. And with any kind of market, there's just population itself, it just continues to grow. If you notice, here in Phoenix, Arizona, there's just growth everywhere. Apartment complexes, new builds, it just continues to grow. Which that means that population in Arizona itself is just getting a little out of hand, I think, sometimes.
I mean, and then they have those microchip plants building up north, and there's a lot of technology kind of coming to Arizona, a lot of tech jobs and stuff like that. So Arizona is going to always continue to grow and continue to expand. So there's definitely a lot of growth here. There's a lot of people coming in, so the business is always going to be there. So like you said, if you give great service, people are going to refer you. People are going to recognize that. I always kind of think about it as I'm not really in sales. I'm here to help you, give you the knowledge, to educate you, and be kind of a matchmaker.
Right.
My goal is to match you up with the perfect home.
To guide them.
Yes.
Yeah, guidance.
Absolutely.
Guidance is huge. And just have somebody that is backing you up. You know, sometimes we do things, we don't know what we don't know, right? And having somebody that can back you up throughout the process of selling or buying is always huge.
Absolutely.
So, Justin, thank you for joining our podcast. Anything that you any shout outs that you want to give out before we go?
Well, if you're interested in buying or selling, you can always reach me.
How can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram. My number is oh my God, I almost did 716. That's Buffalo. I don't know why I came up with that. 480-341-8562. And hopefully I can help you soon.
There you go. Any shout outs that you want to give out?
Well, Chelly, happy Valentine's Day. Late, happy Valentine's Day. I was working late yesterday.
Did you guys do anything special?
No. We watched a movie, and my wife is like 8 months pregnant right now.
All right,
I came home to a baggy T-shirt, and she was ready to chill and watch TV. So,
yeah, there you go.
Yes.
All right. Well, once again, Justin, thank you for being part of this podcast. If you like this podcast, please make sure to share, like, comment. The support that you give us is amazing, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys soon. What was the time?
It was a good episode.
28
minutes.
20?
28.
Chelly's going to kill me with that baggy T-shirt comment.
That's okay.
Caesar, was it rough or what?
No, it was good. Not sponsored by Cold Brew.
Not sponsored by
Don't lie to me, Caesar. It better make me look good.
All right. Go to work.